If you look at my farming business, it's quite diverse. We've primarily got livestock and cropping enterprises. On our cropping side, we've got maize and lucerne and pastures and pecans. And on the livestock side, we have got sheep, Angora goats, beef cattle, and recently hens, laying hens as well. So we've got a diverse enterprise which incorporates many different aspects, and we have the versatility to be able to increase or decrease certain components on different years, depending on what the environmental, political, and social and economic climates demand at any time. In terms of why we should be considered climate-smart farmers, I would say that I live climate-smart farming. It is who I am. My father was a conservationist. He is a conservationist, and conservation agriculture is something that I embody with everything I do. So when I make decisions, I make them on a conservation agriculture basis rather than on economic basis, because I consider that by doing the right thing as farmers, and as farmers we're in the long-term game, that we will eventually benefit economically also from playing the right economical long-term or environmental long-term game. So how do we do that? Well, we employ high-density grazing on the veld, where we have long rest periods where our animals can, where our veld can recover over a long period of time, at least a full growing season. It also means we've got a lot of standing hay ahead of us, means we capture our rainfall. We use photosynthesis as a primary driver, so we want to maximize our photosynthesis, which means we want minimal bare soil on the farm at any time, and particularly on the veld, the Karoo typically has 40% bare soil. We want to limit that, and that is why we've employed the high-density farming. On the irrigation side of things, we use multi-species cover crops, which allows us to use multiple wavelengths of light to maximize photosynthesis, because where we have enough water on the irrigation, photosynthesis is the limiting factor, and we want to make sure that we use every drop of sunlight we have. Throughout the year, 365 days a year, we want to be producing carbon. And effectively, photosynthesis is the most effective way of producing carbon. It takes carbon out of the atmosphere and puts it into the soil. Once we've got carbon in the soil, we're fixing our water cycle. Once we fix our water cycle, we produce more biomass. Once we do that, we can produce more livestock, which produces more manure, which allows us to produce more biomass and hold on to more water. So it's a constantly improving cycle, and that's where we want to be as farmers. And that's what I would love to share with other farmers, so that more farmers can join this way of farming and ultimately change the way they operate and future-proof their businesses, so that they're still here for generations to come, and that their legacy that they've inherited can continue for generations to come. As a climate smart ambassador, it's vital that we farm for the future, so that we're future-proofing our farm. So the decisions that I make on the farm are with the future in mind. As the CEO and visionary of my business, it's my job to plot the future, to look into the future, and to read what our climate, whether it be political, environmental, or economical, looks like, and to plan our future correctly, so that we not only continue to exist, that we continue to thrive in a changing environment around us. So being climate smart means that we've got to pay attention to certain things like heating of the earth and like different rainfall patterns, and we've got to pay attention to that and work out how we're going to solve those problems, or how are we going to mitigate the impact of those problems on our business. I think that would be, in a nutshell, how I would define being a climate smart farmer. So in a maize crop versus in a multi-species cover crop, there's a soil temperature difference of around about 5 degrees. And the reason for that is that a maize being a monoculture, you're only absorbing certain wavelengths of sunlight. Whereas in a multi-species cover crop, you're absorbing multiple species of sunlight. And if you consider you're absorbing it at different heights, you're starting high, and every gradient of vegetation that you're going down, your temperature will be dropping. So you'll be dropping from, say, 30 degrees to 25, and then the next plant or layer will drop it from 25 to 20, and the next from 20 to 15. So through multiple layers of vegetation, your air temperature drops, and that in turn affects your soil temperature, and that in turn affects your ability to hold water vapor in the liquid form as water in your soils. So where you see in the Serengeti and you see migration, you'll see birds following the ruminants. So we brought the birds in as part of the ecosystem to follow the ruminants. That's the primary purpose.
And what do they eat?
They'll eat insects. They will turn manure over, although with sheep manure it's less of a factor than with cow manure. So in summer when there's cow manure, they scratch it open, they spread the manure around. They'll eat insects, they'll eat worms, so to a certain degree parasite control. They also love to eat fresh legumes that are sprouting and fresh grasses that are sprouting. And they scratch, so they plant seeds while they're busy scratching. So they're quite aggressive in the way they scratch. And you'll see around the coop how much physical damage they actually do to the soil in a single day, because they also get moved every day. If you are a small scale, if you're a veld farmer, and you've got 25 hectares of grazing, of water around your house, what do you do with it? And I think that a lot of farmers have got a little fontainetjie, and they actually have the opportunity to use 25 hectares of water to make a difference, so that when the drought comes, they've got something to keep themselves busy with. Because a lot of farmers, when drought comes, feel hopeless because there's nothing out there. But if they've got linkies around the house, then what they end up is too many animals on those linkies, because they don't have nearly enough linkies for their animals. But with this model, with the peanuts, with the honeybees, with the high density grazing, and with the hens, it's something that you're actually getting multiple income streams from a single hectare. It allows you to use your water more effectively, and it keeps the clock ticking over during times of drought when there might be less to do on the veld.